So, Acori, well, I wanted to also ask you, as we were talking about just the impact of the art it has had on people, especially the sculptures and how people are relating to it. How did you come up with the idea of sculpting, especially like popular people or like creating moments of pop culture or just important figures, How did that come to how did it
Uh,
come to your idea?
oh, sure. It first started as when I first started getting into the sculpting and thinking of like, because I said I was looking for figures. So in the beginning, for me, it was like, well, what would be a cool figure? Nobody, I don't think anybody else has seen. So my first figure I wanted to try was Snoop from The Wire, but it was like out of my skill set. So when I tried to do it, I wasn't able to do it. So I
Right.
was like, oh wow, all right. So I thought of other like females that I wanted to do. Then I said, you know what? This is a little bit too hard. I don't have my skill set. Let me just do men for now. And I'll evolve and I can come back and do the women that I want to do. So it went from that to, oh, you know what would be cool? A Fred Sanford piece. What was somebody said they walked and I saw a little Fred Sanford sitting there? Or um, um, what if I had a Jerome Rome? Like, what would people say?
Right.
Like that's it started going from there. And then I think I did a Malcolm X and I saw like the response to that, like, oh my gosh, a Malcolm X. There would be collectors. That's when collectors started reaching out to me
Wow.
saying, "Man, I have a big collection. You know, I really love the Malcolm X." And it started there. But then I um my cousin contacted me and said, "Hey, I'm at this art gallery. There's a guy that wants to talk to you." And I'm like, "What's he want to talk to me for?" And he said he wants to
And
talk to you
you're
about your
artist.
sculpture. I make dolls. Like, what's he want to talk to me for? So the guy saying, "Oh, I'm looking at your work. It's beautiful. It's beautiful." And he was looking at like the early sculpts before I paint them, before any of that. So when I finally went to meet him, I said, you want me to bring my pieces with me? He said, yeah, bring a couple. I said, no, I can bring them all. And I think so. He was like, what? So when I showed up to his gallery, I walk in with like a bin, and he's looking at me like, but it's I mean a little Tupperware bin, like this big, like it wasn't that big. He's looking at me like, what are you bringing in here? And I'm like, I'm bringing my art. And he's like, what? So when I pull out the pieces and show him the sculptures, he's like, they're this small? I thought they were bigger busts. So then
Oh,
I explained to him, like, oh no, I make figures. And he's like, figures, But when I showed him, like, I had a Richard Pryor, I had a Basquiat, I had a the Malcolm X, and then I saw like a light bulb go off. And he was like, you know, you're going to have your own space one day. That's what he said to me. And he said, but if you want to, sell your pieces out of gallery, sell them out of gallery. And that's when I said, what? So this can be art?
yeah,
So
for
this is
sure.
for me, it was like I'm just looking for a dope piece to collect. And so then it opened me up to, oh wow, really serious art in the gallery?
Yeah.
Are you serious? And he was telling me how much, and I said, wow. So he said, well, can you make 10 figures for this event we're having? I think a festival or something. But it only was like 2 months. And this is when I, like I said, very first time I started, and I just said yes. But it's like 10 figures, like wow, like my wife was like, you could do it. And I did. I pulled it off. I made the Sealy. I made a Richard Pryor. I did everything down to a Batman and a Joker, just in case kids were there. Like so, I that was the first time I saw that I could like put together a whole bunch of pieces. It wasn't just one here, another one here, and that's what got me in the mindset of, all right, this is art. I'm doing this as art. I'm not looking at this no more as making a piece for me. Now I think I'm transitioning to the art world. This is my way in. This is the coolest way in because I'm doing something that I actually enjoy, and I'm
Right.
doing it my way. So when that opportunity happened, like I said, that one opened the door and had me start thinking about pieces artistically, like creatively, like aesthetically, besides just dope, like what would look cool.
Right.
James Baldwin, you know, Langston Hughes, who would see these things. Then in my mind started going to the what if. So my figures are basically what ifs. Like, what if we had these in when we grew up? What if we had figures like this with that detail put in and that love put into them, and not just the black Ken with just a brown paint and dot 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 over the hair, or black Barbie just brown paint and black hair. What if someone really thought about the features, making sure they look right, the hair looks right, and giving us that love that normally when comes to our turn to have something like that, we normally don't get. We just get whatever's left over, or a sloppy job. So
Right.
that's that was the first thing for me, was to make sure, like, I wanted to capture that. Um and like I said, it was just cool seeing people react to it. But like I said, I didn't understand, is because they never seen anything like that. For me, it was like, how could you not? Because I
Right.
don't think like only I have an idea. I'm like, oh, someone else probably thought of this. And it just so happens, like, I'm at a time. I just lucked out, and no one has. So it's so I said it is. That's why I put the responsibility on me. Like, you know what? Well, you got to do it this way. Set this standard. Anybody wants ask any questions, make sure you answer them. Tell them, what you've learned. Because when I started this, no one wanted to teach me. I would reach out to the other dial artists, like the Koreans, and them asking them, like, how'd you make the paint? Because I didn't know how to paint black skin. I didn't
Right.
know how to do tones. I learned that from going to YouTube and watching young girls do the makeup videos, the
Wow.
contour and all that. So I was like, oh, that's the color you use. Oh, it works. Because basically what I'm doing is doing like makeup on a little, on a
Figurine.
little
Yeah.
dial. So,
How
but
big are the dolls?
yeah.
Like usually?
So I do 12 inch,
Okay.
12-inch scale. Like I said, about the size of a Barbie doll or taller. So it's but they're fully articulated. They're more posable. And even if I do like more than one of a particular person, each piece still is a one off. So no one has the same exact piece. So you may have, and you be like, hey, yours has a ring, mine doesn't. His goatee looks different, or oh, I didn't. He doesn't have a suit. He had this other suit on. Right? Mine came with a cigarette in his mouth. You know what? Like my James Baldwin will have a cigarette in his mouth. One won't. One will be holding a cigarette. One will have his eye looking to the side, like, please. It's like everybody has something different.
Right.
Like I said, just to make it a one-off, because people collect art, and I come from like that comic book collecting thing where you look for, like, it's cool to have that one thing, and that's what I just carried over into making these pieces, and I keep them rare, so it's not a whole bunch of them out there. So you may see maybe those 4 or 5 of a particular piece.
I think also what's really special about what you're doing is, again, because we're black and we know how important it is for us to see ourselves in many different mediums and forms. The care that you're taking, the attention to detail that you're spending, only you would be able to do that, because it's a representation of who you are as a person, a part of the African diaspora, so I wouldn't expect
Yeah,
people at Mattel, who makes Barbie, to be able to create our features the way that I would, knowing that as a Black woman, I have full lips. And usually, there's just certain features and things that we know because it's just part of like our culture and our community. So again, I really appreciate what the work that you're doing, um, because it's important,
thank
very important for us to see ourselves.
thank
And
you.
I also want to just ask you really quickly, how have you been staying creative during the whole pandemic?
During well, that's what's crazy is during this pandemic, we've had um it's weird. It's like I benefited during the pandemic, and it was just kind of weird because so many people are hurting and so many people are losing. For
Right,
me, remember George Floyd happened,
right,
so the awareness level even shot up some more.
yeah,
So when they really see me now, it's like,
wow, yeah,
because it means so much more, because we've just been getting knocked down, that when people see me, they automatically are happy that beyond just seeing the piece, they're like, and the black man made it. The black man made it. a
Yeah.
black piece and it's done by a black guy and it's all him. You know what I mean? It's no, so it's, and they really like it's, I hear the pride in that.
Right.
They don't know me from a can of paint. So, but and then to go and then like and to hear like the reaction is just it's humbling because
Right.
it's like I said, it's nothing that it's not what I planned. I used to be a rapper making beats, and now I make figurines, dolls. Like where 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 would I never imagine? And then on top of that, um, like the something that's really important and for my people and um that they see it. They tell me that they can see that I poured my bloodline, my heart and my soul into it. They say they can see it in that. And that's what really gets you because you know when you create, you're sitting there half the time crying like, oh man, the eye's off, you know, or the
Right.
ear's not the same shape, and you're sitting in your mind, and they're like, beautiful, you're brilliant, and you're like, what? The tooth is missing. Like you're sitting there like picking it apart, and you can't see it, but they can see it, and
Right.
but um after a while, you, now I'm used to it because I'm not used to people like having the positive energy, positive things to say, especially because I said I'm a black man in America. So someone to say something positive and say, hey, brother, you're going somewhere. Or they say, man, you're going somewhere. And I'm like, I ain't going somewhere. Really? You think that? Wow, you don't know me. Wow. That in America, you know what I'm saying? That that is a mind blower. It's like, look, man, I see this for you. And you're going places and like thanking me. And it's like, I didn't make this for a thanks or none of that, but to see the appreciation and I understand it. That's like I said, that's it's just deep and it just makes me want to do better and 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 that part makes me want to make my people proud or like I said, empower them because my work is empowering without traumatizing.
Right.
So, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't be like the messengers that beat you over the head and give you the message and let you know where we came from and give you the harsh realities of it. They're doing a wonderful job. I, I don't operate from that, and so but I want to make work that still impacts you the same way. The only difference is um, instead of like that drained feeling, like it's like it's like you see my piece and you go, ah, cool. And then your mind sparks and goes, ah, and then you think. So when you see it, you initially get that good feeling, and then the deep thought comes. And then after that, you still feel good because you're seeing something outside of the box. It's us, you're represented, and like I said, you're not you're more inspired than drained when you leave.
High vibrations. High vibrations.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So, as we're gonna wrap here, but I have a closing question for you. And basically, I just want to know what would be some advice that you would give to young artists.
Look, whatever you're doing, don't worry about what anybody else is saying. Whatever you're doing is the dope thing. Anybody else who has input and they're not doing what you're doing, if they're not doing the same exact thing you're doing, take their advice, depending on who it is, with a grain of salt, but do what you want to do and move the way you want to move, unless you're looking for that advice. If it's just given to you, like, oh, you should do X, Y, and Z, and you're like, I'm not comfortable with it. You don't have to listen to that. What you're doing is the cool thing. And what I will also say is the rule is there are no rules.
Hmm.
All of us are conditioned to have a rule in we come up with rules that we put on ourselves or something and what I always say to young people is whatever rule you have against yourself that only you have, no one said to you, some unwritten thing that you haven't that was implanted in your head, take that shit and throw it away. Throw it out the window because that's what's going to limit you. And we all have it. Everybody has it. Something that we only told ourselves and we look at the end of the day, we go, who told us that? I told myself that. No one told me that.
Yeah.
That's what hinders us. And that's what I say to young people, because they have it more than ever. They had 50 million things in their head going through, and it's driving them crazy and stressing them out. And I'm saying that's what bothers you. Take that and throw that out. And you're not going to be 100% cool, but you're still young. You're still going to go through it. But you just remove that part of your mind, because young people pretty much, y'all have it under control, and y'all are, you know, the future for me. I only hope I have is because I see what the young people are doing, and they're only getting better and better, um and they have the most freedom to think outside the box, because they're not having this I'm an adult BS play on their head to take away their imagination.
Right.
So like I said, pretty much, like I said, that's the only advice I give them, because pretty much they have it. They just don't know they have it. But to let them know that they do have it, they got the keys. It's just up to them when they want to start the car, but they pretty much already have it. Old people don't know nothing.
So Corey, where can everyone find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram .com, or for Instagram at Acori Honzo. Also on Facebook. If you're on Facebook and not Instagram, you can go on the House of Honzo. Just type that in, you'll be able to go there. And I have a YouTube channel that's also the House of Honzo. I've been slowly working on content and come back trying to show content. But any of those, you'll be able to stay up to date on whatever I'm doing. And when I start streaming again, working online, you can see me paint and sculpt, because I used to do that. All that information will be there, so you can always find me there. And if you have any questions, it doesn't have to be about buying something, because you don't have to buy something for me to speak to you. If you have any questions, you can message me through any of those outlets, and I'll respond to you. I don't always respond immediately, but I respond to you.
You don't got an assistant?
No, not yet. What's funny is people will think like, oh man, like, oh, you never answer your phone. My friends, some of you others, or they'll like, oh, you just ignore me. And I'm like, no. One time I didn't answer a message, and I came back and I saw a guy ask me, could he show my piece to Rakim? And I was like, I'm not giving it to you. Then I looked back and realized it was Kwame from back in the day, the rapper. And he
Wow.
literally, and I was like,
Like,
so it's not like I'm just that way with people. It's like when I'm in my mode, I work, and when I slow down, I can read. But when I'm working, my mind is just focused on just
right.
get it done. Because it's weird. I'm my own boss, but I work harder and push myself hard versus saying, "Hey, I'm my own boss. I could just sit down and take my time." I just work so hard, but like I said, I make sure I get back. And I say, for anybody with any questions, even if it's you and you have a child and you have a question about what you want your advice for your child, it doesn't matter. I'll answer any of that, because I just want to help in any way I can, because no one helped me. It was only one guy that helped me.
Wow. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for, coming on Raven Maven and sharing your story and your art with us. And I'm going to just tell everyone to please make sure that you subscribe to ravenmavenshow.com, become a member. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can also find us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter at Raven Maven Show. And yeah, just, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time, let's do it again. More black creatives, more black entrepreneurs, just keeping it blacker than ever. Thank you, everyone.